How's it on YouTube? Peter here, your Ginger Joe the Geek. Welcome back to the channel. And today I'm joined by my good friend Chris from Off My Shelves. How are you, Chris?
I am good, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, all good. I'm always looking forward to when you say that's your whack. I kind of want to skip that bit because I enjoy that bit.
Yeah, I've even got a slide now. I've even got a slide.
I know.
That's your whack. It's nice. Yeah.
This tagline t-shirts next.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All the merch. I'll get it on Coke cans, everything. You know. But Chris, you have got a phenomenal channel. It's one of the few channels that I regularly check out because the video quality, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your backside, the video quality is always top notch. But it's educational and entertaining as well. So tell the people a little bit about your channel before we move on, mate.
No, thank you very much for that as well. And I say the same about you. Your channel is one of the only ones I tend to watch religiously. And it's mainly nothing to do with video quality. It's all to do with you because you are such a lovely personality. And I think a lot of your viewers think the same as well. And so, yeah, I'm glad that you've got me on. But yeah, in general, I forgot what the question was.
No, just keep telling people how good I am. That's fine. No, tell me a little bit about your channel. Tell me what you can.
My channel. I think we've been going now since late 2020, November-ish, I think. And yeah, I just wanted a kind of an outlet because none of my friends like comics, and so I wanted to talk to someone, and I thought talk to a blank screen that'll fill a void.
It sounds a bit sad. Yeah,
I know. This is a tragic story. It'll get worse before it gets better, don't worry. But no, in general, I used to watch loads of For the Love of Comics with Anshuman, an amazing guy, lovely guy, and Omar over in the Mint Condition, and even Mad Dog, Marcus of Mad Dog comics. And I used to watch those, and I thought I was doing a disservice almost by not sharing my collection on YouTube because all these other people were. And I think in particular, when I heard Mad Dog's voice for the first time, I thought, oh, he's got a local accent. I didn't know people with local accents could do this type of thing because I've got such a thick Welsh accent. I was intimidated because everyone always speaks either quite American or quite cleanly and middle of the road accent on YouTube. And so once I saw that, I thought, oh, I'll do it. And I thought I was doing a public service by putting on books and talking about them. Well, that's kind of evolved into me just giving my opinion on books more than anything, rather than looking at the books and the build and all that and talking about top fives or any of this type of thing. In general, I kind of grew more and more confident with just having an opinion on books and then talking about it. And it's great because you put it out there, you know, you share some images, you share some content, and people will talk back to you, and then you'll get other recommendations, and it kind of goes forward. But I very much approach it as a reader more than anything. Like, I want to talk about books, and so having the comment section, having people talk back is great, and all that type of thing. So yeah, my channel is kind of mainly just talking about books that I've read,
which is which is I think why I enjoy your channel so much, because there are a lot of collectors, myself included, who go for the CGC graded books, and you know, whereas your channel is really about the quality of the book and the quality of the story and what it's about, and that's I enjoy that because it's a bit like, you know, the guys over on the Nerd Herd. It gives me hints and tips as to what to pick up, because there's so much content out there, so many books out there, you can't possibly read everything, you know.
Exactly right. And that's the type of thing. It's like halfway through my channel, I was like, oh, I'm talking about books that other people have already talked about, and I was kind of getting a bit paranoid. Oh, well, why add more videos talking about the same, look for stuff that hasn't been covered? But then I thought, no, I just want to talk about stuff that I have an opinion on. And sometimes I really like it. Sometimes I thought it could have been better, and sometimes I didn't like it. But ultimately, I just thought that, no, you know, talking and having an opinion and having a variety of different opinions to access online is great, really. Because I don't know if you were the same. When I'm looking for a book or looking at something to buy, I never just watch one video and think, oh, that's me done, I'll buy. I watch a range of different opinions and then kind of come to my own conclusions when I've heard different opinions and things like that. And so, yeah, it's one of those things that I think I've grown more comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you know, just feeding back on one of the things you said, that we'll have to put subtitles on this video because you've got your Welsh accent and my Geordie accent. People are going to have no hope of understanding what we're talking about.
It's amazing. Honestly, when I heard your accent, I was like, finally, someone's got a thick accent like me on the internet. Because I heard fellow Welshman, you know, Scott from Scott Shells and the Nerd Herd, and he's nowhere near as Welsh as me, you know, in terms of accent. Yeah. And even some of our Irish friends, you know, like Phil and other people, they haven't got that really thick accent like you and I have got. So good luck to people.
Distinguished accents.
Yeah.
You know, unique. So what we're going to talk about tonight, me and Chris have been talking about doing this for a good while because we've both discovered that we have a passion for absolute editions or large format books. Now, my passion, I don't know what you're like, Chris, but my passion really stems from the fact that I'm getting a little bit older. And I just love having that larger scale artwork and that, you know, that beautiful kind of, some of the books, you know, you've probably guessed that I'm going to talk about are stunning Alex Ross bits of work. And just having that, there's something sexy about a hardback, I think, as well. You know, having that physical hard book in your hand and then the artwork is just amazing there for you in front of you. What is it about absolute editions that draws your attention?
It's much the same thing in terms of like, when I first started reading comics, I was constantly just buying the cheapest version, the easiest to get, cheapest version, trade paperbacks or monthly comics, that type of thing. And I can remember like it was yesterday, I think it was like 2007, 2008, that my trade paperback of Hellboy fell apart. And I was like, right, I'll buy a new one. And then when I went on, there was this new thing called, that new to me, a library edition of Hellboy. And I was like, oh, wow. And so I bought that and I was like, and I read it and I realized how different my reading experience was with the larger page, with the thicker kind of paper, with different print quality, with different design. It changes the experience and it changes how you feel about owning that as an object as well. Because whereas a trade paperback kind of tends to disappear onto your shelf, these kind of almost become like objects that look good and that please me on the shelf. And so I started then looking at, you know, oversized editions. And after the library editions, I started looking into absolute editions. And I was reading Grant Morrison's Batman and Robin run. And I loved that. And they brought an absolute out. And I was like, oh, well, I'll pick that up because I want to get more big oversized issue. And when I bought that and I realized just the quality of an absolute edition was a cut above everyone else. I mean, the paper is ridiculously thick. The binding is amazing. The slipcase. And then the fact that they are all individually unique as well. And so I started then just buying more absolutes. But I think I just love the quality and the effort put into it more than anything because...
And I think, you know, for me, and I think you're probably the same, we both love the reading experience and we love the, you know, the physicality of the book. I guess the other thing that I really like about absolute editions is that the vast majority of the ones I've got, it's not just the main story you're getting. You get the additional material in the back, you get the artist sketches, the initial kind of fleshing out of the storyline. And I like that history of it. I like the kind of the backstory as to what the book is, you know.
Yeah, totally. Although I'm not a massive extras guy. I don't like scripts. I'm never one for scripts. But then lots of other elements like the sketchbooks and like the kind of process and even interviews to a time. I think pretty much scripts are kind of the only ones. And some of the books I picked actually have got quite substantial script sections. But yeah, for me, it is really about giving a different angle to that story and really enjoying that story. Because honestly, every time I bought a standard edition of a book and I've loved it and then I've upgraded, I've never been disappointed ever. It's got like 100% success rate, and so I'm fine. And I know some people have some issues with certain absolutes and things like that, and the pointlessness of some of them or the size of some of them. But for the most part, the ones I bought anyway have been a really great addition to the shelves, definitely.
Well, that's a great segue then, Chris. So what we're going to do is we're each going to show off a few. Great segue. What we're going to do is each show off a couple of books, or 5 books. We'll start with you, Chris. What's the first book you want to show off? I'm gonna make you big.
Oh, cool. Yeah, the first one. That's you.
That's me. That's me. Yeah, that's you. That's you.
And yeah, the first one, and this is, they're kind of in order, I suppose. But the first one I picked, and this is purely with when you asked me on my top 5 absolutes, I purposefully didn't pick 5 that was all about the story. I picked 5 that the absolute edition actually made better in some way.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, that experience actually improved massively, or the design and kind of presentation of the book was so up there.
Elevated. Yeah.
And elevated. Perfect. See, it should have been you first. You got all the cool words, man. But this one I picked because I don't necessarily think it improves the art being big and oversized, but I think the presentation of the book is just a cut above. And when I saw it, I was just absolutely blown away by the effort and the uniqueness. Absolute Swamp Thing by Alan Moore. Now, this is obviously volume 1. There are 3 volumes, so, well, it's up to you if you want to shove them all in. See for the price of 1. Yeah. Now, the slipcase is just an amazing kind of slipcase, but then the real magic of this book comes with a cloth-bound book on the inside. And I know before people go in the comments that the first print had dodgy binding and all that, but this is the second black label print. And yet, when this came out, I was just absolutely blown away by the cloth-bound book. The design on the cloth-bound book is just crazy. The design on the spine and the design on the back, this tiny little DC logo here. Yeah. This is the level of design-ship and design work. Is that flower and that little bit of foliage grows over each volume. So
really?
Volume 3 blooms.
Yeah.
They didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
They didn't. Now, this, right, is the same price and far cheaper, probably, than a lot of Marvel omnibuses. Marvel omnibuses are smaller, and the design work, for the most part, Marvel omnibuses are generic, let's be fair. They'll have art on the board sometimes, but pretty much all the dust jackets are the same type of thing, you know, same spines. And some people love that, but I love it when a book is individual and just created.
So here's the thing, Chris. I have not read that. I haven't got Swamp Thing. Excuse me, but I do know that Forbidden Planet have got a sale out at the moment, and I think you can pick that up for very, very cheap. I want to say £30 to £40.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it came up the other day. I'm not sure if there's any left now, but the one main complaint that this edition always gets is the recoloring, because it hasn't got the original kind of almost dirty neon coloring that came the period. Like, but I think the coloring kind of, you know, improves it. I don't think the colouring is necessarily a bad thing in this version. I prefer the modern colouring, and that is, you know, it's going to be down to your own opinion.
Own preference. The
story is insanely good. There's a lot of different artists that go through and come on different issues, like, because it's a big old chunk of time. Alan Moore's writing is great all the way through, really, and it's some of the best stuff he's ever done. I don't know whether or not it necessarily adds to the art experience being oversized, because, again, some artists, as we'll see and as you've gone out, really benefit from being bigger and wider. This one, I'm not 100% sure. It certainly doesn't, you know, it's certainly not a bad thing having, you know, Steve Bissett and John Tottenham and all the artists in big form. But it's the design on this book that just blew me away.
I think I'm going to have to pick that one up now. Just watching you keep caressing that book. It's, I
love a cloth-bound book as well. Like, people talk about leather. Cloth is the way forward.
Cloth's better. Tremendous.
Hold off, Heather.
I will definitely be picking that one up. Okay, jump over to me now, Chris. Now, when we talk comic books, and we've talked before, haven't we, about the fact that we are comic book readers. I think to be classed as a proper comic book reader, there are probably a few books you've got to have in your collection. So I'm going to show off one of those books. So can you guess what it might be? A book that you've got to have as a serious comic book reader. Hey? No, you see. No.
Watchmen, then. Second guess. I told you I'd get him.
Second guess. So this is Watchmen, one of my favorite stories of all time. I think for me, one of the books that makes you realize that comics aren't just for kids. It was kind of that dawning age, you know, of people taking comic books seriously, by the incredible Alan Moore, as you've just been talking about. This is a stunning volume. The cover of the kind of the outer case is amazing. It's the artwork inside is absolutely phenomenal. I don't know about you, Chris, but I also love when you take the dust cover off and you've got images printed on the inside, or full artwork on the inside.
You're obsessed with smelling books.
I do. Like, do you not sniff your books? Oh, I've got a thing. You can't beat a good sniff.
It's weird, particularly when you make the noises you make when you're smelling them.
So this is Watchmen. It's a phenomenal story. The paper quality in this is it's just brilliant. I love everything about it. I do think this benefits from the larger scale paneling, because what they've done is they've tried to cram in the original comic a lot of panels on the printed page. So I like the fact that this kind of gives it time to breathe a little bit more. You can see the detail in the paneling. Again, this one's got some nice little bits at the end where you see some of the imagery of kind of the original designs for some of the Watchmen. It's just an absolute classic book. It's one of my absolute favorites, and I picked this one up for an absolute steal. I got it for practically nothing. Yeah, just one of those books that I think belongs on your shelf, and why not have it in absolute format? You know?
I can't remember how long ago I did a video on that. I think it was for like the Watchmen 35 anniversary or something like that. So it was a while back now. But I remember looking obsessively at the Absolute Edition, and I realized exactly like you said, in terms of the art, added so much more to Dave Gibbons' art style. And it made me appreciate, you know, it didn't necessarily kind of improve the art, but it made me realize the levels he went to put his pages together and to kind of lay out colors and mirror certain panels. I mean, the work he's got, the work he does to knit those pictures together, and colorization by John Higgins as well really stands out massively in the Absolute Edition. Like, you can't, it's not missed at all. It's really seen and appreciated.
Yeah, and I think for me, again, this is what kind of, you know, you've just showed off Swamp Thing there, which is, again, a kind of a classic piece of work now. That's, for me, what these Absolute Editions should be. These should be the kind of the definitive collection of some of these timeless stories that you need in your collection. Well, everybody's got their own taste, but for me, you know, some of these books you absolutely need in your collection if you're a person that collects books, as it were.
No, I totally agree. Nah.
What else you got? And show me your next one.
Darwin Cook's New Frontier.
I was going to show that one.
No, I know.
Yeah.
The spine, I look at it every time and it makes me happy. Honestly. That Wonder Woman smiling half on the spine. Every day I see this and I always go, nah, I like that. every day. And this is the 15th anniversary edition, because there was an earlier one that had a different board design and slipcase design, I think. But this one, Darwin Cook is an artist who I absolutely just adore. And he's one of those ones that it always does my head in that there isn't more work out there by him. There's a lot of artwork out there by him in different formats, from covers to mini-series and things like that. But in terms of the quality of this, and Parker is a series that he's got with IDW, there's not that many in terms of on that level. And so this was a must-buy for me. And this wraparound kind of cover is just stunning there. And again, it fits this 1950s kind of 40s aesthetic of the origins of these superheroes. And more than anything, because this book, for the most part, is told in big, chunky 3-panel grids, that it just, even on a small scale, the art was imposing because it wasn't a cluttered page. But on this scale, there's just no way to hide, and it's just pure Darwin Cook lushness. It's just stunning. I love it. And again, I really love Darwin Cook's art. I think the more and more I get into comic books and reading comic books, the more I realize that I very much, like, I know you're a big fan of Alex Ross, but there's a level where I kind of veer away from realism and want more cartoony kind of, and not even cartooniness, but I want to go away from realism. I want stuff that isn't anywhere near realism. And Darwin Cook fits that perfectly, because the way he draws, the body shapes he gets, the styles he puts on when he draws dinosaurs in this, it's just... And again, the extras in this are great as well. And the book, look at the bloody pages, man. For God's sake.
I love his version of Batman. Has that got I can't remember if it was the additional story in it where the kind of Batman's fighting Superman. Yeah,
that's in right to the end. Yeah, that's one of the annual things at the end, I think. Yeah, it's in there somewhere, because this collects everything he done in that period. Really, and I love this story. I really do, because it's so bonkers. It harks back to the superheroes. When superheroes had enemies, they weren't just manic serial killers that were going to eat your face. They were actually kind of like proper sci-fi, weird, massive world.
Mad scientists making lizards. Yeah. So, do you know what? That's a great pick. I've got that one. I don't know if I've got the original version or if I've got the updated version, but it's a while since I've read it.
It says 15th anniversary on the spine.
Yeah. I'll have to go back and have a reread of that story, because again, it's one of my favorites. It's a tremendous story. Now, look, you've talked about it enough, so I'm going to get it over and done with, right? I'm getting it over and done with.
Can I say what Marcus would say?
Yeah.
Mark fucking Wade.
Look at that, man. I know you like your comics a bit more cartoony, but the artwork in Kingdom Come is just... it's next level, absolutely next level. I am a massive Alex Ross fan. I think anybody that watches my channel knows that. I love his artwork. I'm a huge Mark Waid fan. I think his writing is next level. Had to have this as soon as it came out. This is a stunning book. Have you got this one, Chris?
Yeah, I got it.
I absolutely love the kind of the relatively simple front cover of it. I love this kind of embossed image.
Very similar to Hellboy's. Cloth bumper. It's got this kind of insert in the middle there. It's lovely.
Yeah. They're just stunning books. And I'm a big fan of Elseworld Tales as well, so which is probably why I really enjoy this one a lot. The artwork inside, well, it's typical Ross. You know, it's absolutely stunning. I collect these as well. I don't know if you collect these. Whenever you buy an Absolute Edition, they come cellophane wrapped, and there's always these little things in them. I put them in my books. I don't know why, but I do keep them. But yeah, the Alex Ross artwork just pumps. It jumps off the page. Again, you've got loads of beautiful sketches in the back of the book of some of his preliminary sketch work and things like that.
There's a bit to the back in it as well with the annotations. And the annotations about about what's going on in the page and on the panel is mental, because you miss so much, because a lot of his pages, particularly in this, are so chaotic and beautiful in their chaoticness, but you miss so much, you can't see it all, and so it's nice to have the annotations there. Really, I
can't remember if it, because it's a long time since I've flicked through it, but I can't remember if this is the volume that's got the kind of the hints and tips, or if that was in a Wizard magazine where it goes by page telling you about all of the kind of the references he's used. So where the Beatles are.
Yeah, they call it the Keys to the Kingdom annotation, annotations. Yeah.
So just a stunning book. I love the oversized artwork on this one. I love the how it's bound. I love the. I'm trying to use words that you use, Chris. Do you know what I mean? I like how it's bound. I like, but yeah, it's a stunning book. One of my favorites. And no matter what Phil from the Nerd Herd says, one of the best reads out there.
Show the bookend pages. Show the bookend pages. They are brilliant.
Yeah, and that's his father, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's his.
That's a boot, isn't it?
The Spectre and his dad. Yeah, there's a great documentary on Sky at the moment about DC, and there's an interview with Alex Ross and Mark Waid talking about this book coming out about Kingdom Come and about how his father was the inspiration for Norman McKay and all that kind of stuff.
I'll have to have a look for that. Yeah.
The 3-parter. It's actually quite good. It's not a bad watch. It's not a bad watch.
I'll have to have a look for that.
Okay, Chris, what we got next?
Next is now this. I bought the original trade paperback of this, and I enjoyed it. But then, for some reason or another, I was getting like a load of absolutes, and this one popped up, and I was like, "Oh, you know what? I haven't got a Frank Miller absolute."
Oh, yeah.
Now, I haven't got a Frank Miller absolute, mainly because the only Frank Miller absolute outside of this that I would jump for would be The Dark Knight, but that's squished together with one of the worst stories in the history of mankind.
Don't sit on the fence there, Chris. Say it how you feel. You know,
It's follow up to Dark Knight Returns, and I ain't buying a book with that being the majority of it, because that is crap. If they just put it in Dark Knight on its own, I would buy it straight away. And so I wanted a Frank Miller one because I adore Frank Miller's art. He was one of the, along with kind of Dave Gibbons, Frank Miller was pretty much the second comic book creator that I really got into outside of Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, like, because they were the first two books that I read was Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns. You know, I read comic books when I was a kid, stuff, but after that, when I realized that I wanted to read things, those were the two things that I read. And so Ronin I read, and I saw the absolute, and I thought it's amazing. And my appreciation for this has only grown over time, because I realized how much kind of, you know, manga art mainly by Kojima, who done Lone Wolf and Cub and things like that, that he's worked into the design, how Mobius's kind of creativity is worked into the design as well. And it's really a mash of Mobius, Kojima and Miller in terms of the art style. And the story, it grows with appreciation, because a lot of people hate the story because it doesn't finish conclusively and doesn't have a definitive, this is the end, this is what happens to people. It leaves it all to your interpretation, really speaking. And a lot of people hate that type of stuff.
I've not read Ronin.
It's a kind of dystopian future, and it starts off with a samurai who is fighting and becomes a masterless samurai and tries to get revenge on his fallen master, and he dies, and then he's reincarnated in this dystopian future. And so it follows his path through this dystopian future, but also the demon that killed his master back in feudal Japanese days is reincarnated as well. And so it's those two being reincarnated in a dystopian futuristic city that's just devastated and just full of horribleness, you know, proper Frank Miller stuff. And it's a really good story, but it's nowhere, like I say, I think most people's problems with Ronin stems from the ending not being a straightforward, this is where we end, guys. But I quite like ambiguous. I do. I'm a bit of a sucker for stuff like that. I quite like putting my own interpretation on it. But this, when I got the absolute of this, the slipcase was just ridiculously stunning. And then the book came and it had a dust jacket. And again, some absolutes have dust jackets, some don't. It's kind of design, whatever they want to do, really. But the dust jacket was really pretty and beautiful. But then the book underneath, when I saw the book underneath, it's actually a recolored version of a panel from the book. The original panel was blue. They recolored it in this kind of golden red. And so when I first saw this, I was like, oh, I love that.
It's stunning.
The artwork on Frank Miller in here is just, I mean, for God's sake, like, do you know what I mean? When you put things like that big, and you've got that face, where initially that face would be the size of about a 10 pence. Now it's a couple of pounds. And it's just great. I mean, the whole of the artwork, the whole paneling, everything about this book, I just love. And the story has got better with time, but certainly my appreciation for the story, again, in this medium, just was a level up. Seeing the artwork in its full glory, seeing the book design being taken so seriously and so beautiful, it just upped the story for me. And thankfully, I got a Frank Miller absolute that I'm more than happy with. Which I couldn't say I'd be if it was Dark Knight, which you might have, maybe.
No, I haven't. I'm going a bit more modern. No, well, I'm going more modern. Which one?
Dark Knight Strikes Again is the bad one, isn't it?
Yeah, not good at all. I'm going a bit more modern. Oh, it's heavy. You read this one?
I haven't. I didn't think you were going to pick that.
Yeah, you see.
Going modern, I thought I was going to see you a new acquisition of metal.
No, I nearly showed you that because it's a. I haven't read the story, but so I don't know about the quality of it yet. But I was really impressed with the slipcase. It's kind of got like a grid kind of effect. It's really nice. This is Darkest Night. This is I mean, I love the story, but I just love the dust cover there has got two. Sorry, the hardback cover there has got two different images of the main protagonist. Oh. Inside, you get this stunning image of the different versions of the lanterns. Let's just put it down, split it, and then you've got kind of like the bad guys at the back there, the different zombie versions of them. It's a huge beefy book, and I think that's one of the things that I like about it as well, because this is for me real good value for money. You get the oversized format, you get the huge full collection of the story, and it wasn't that expensive in terms of an absolute. You know, it was in my mind a decent price. On the inside, you get this stunning image of Hal with the kind of the zombies behind him coming after him there. Yeah, just a lovely book, a great read, a one I pick up and flick through quite a bit, and again a one that I think really benefits from that. That larger artwork, you know. And it's a good story. So you've not actually read this story, have you not?
I've read Black Knight, but I'm going to be controversial. Jeff Johns, I've never really enjoyed much of his writing at all.
How dare you? How dare you?
I know. I've really tried as well, and I've read a good few Jeff Johns books, but none of them have ever pushed me and captured me. Yeah. The artwork, though, the artists he works with are absolute top draw. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that I keep trying Jeff Johns books out, because the art is always so strong, and then I'm always slightly let down by the writing. I know that's controversial for a lot of people.
I really like his original Flash run, but particularly enjoys Justice Society of America run. I don't know if you read any of that, where he kind of.
I've read mainly kind of the events, you know.
Events on. If you want a decent read, Justice Society of America, his first pre-52, pre-New 52 is really strong.
Something else not so long ago, actually, with Jeff Johns, and I wasn't too much. I can't remember what it was now. It'll come back.
It's your age. You're getting on.
Yeah, it is. I agree. Next, this is a perfect example of how Absolute Editions can level up the artwork to the point where everyone is blown away. Oh. Absolute All-Star Superman by Morrison, and quietly, people always are quick to like. It's quiet. I like the way you said that.
I like the way you said that. Say that again. Say it quietly again. It's good.
I always have to remind myself that it's not quietly. It's quietly. Anyway, I read this story and loved it. Had it in, I think a friend of mine bought me the trade paperback versions. Maybe it was either in one volume or two. Either way, I read it, loved it, and it was, in my eyes, one of the best Superman stories I've ever read, purely and simply because the Superman it portrayed was very calm, very kind of level-headed. I mean, it starts off with him being told that he's dying, and he doesn't like freak out. He goes, oh, okay, I got a few things I want to do before I die, so let's get that sorted. And then he deals with the villains. But he's so calm in a presence and so strong and intelligent. And it's the Superman that if I was in a problem, this Superman is who I'd want to run. I wouldn't want the nutter who turns up in Frank Miller's run.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, the slipcase is a lovely slipcase. And then this has got a dust jacket. Look at that cover. Yeah. Again, the cover does something that it doesn't necessarily need to do. You can see it slightly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the super. Yeah.
And it's got that just lightly kind of there. So it's not taken away. So it's kind of got the art unspoiled, but it's still got that there as well. Yeah. And then on the back, it's got that classic image of Clark and Lois all supered up. And there's never a more beautiful Lois Lane in that. You want to be Superman.
Yeah,
It's really so great. Like. But then under the dust jacket, you get that classic,
classic
sitting on the cloud design, and then another Clark and Lois.
Yeah. So are you a Superman fan, Chris?
I like to basically Superman. Very similar to Batman, is I try to mediate the amount I expose myself to, because I do think they are done to death. And so I try to very, very carefully cherry pick the Superman and Batman stories that I read, because I don't want to get sick of the characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm definitely a Batman guy. I love Batman way more than any other kind of character, really, comic book character. But equally, I know that I don't want to read everything out there. I don't want to jump in there. I don't want to be a monthly reader of it. I want to pick and choose. Yeah. And this is one of those ones, like Kingdom Come, actually. You know, Kingdom Come and this are two of the best Superman stories out there, without the shadow of a doubt. But this one only kind of pips it at the post, because I just love the art that little bit more. Because the only thing actually that I think me and Phil had the same complaint about Kingdom Come and Alex Ross art is that sometimes it lacks motion and forward momentum, and that's something that's totally opposite with Frank Quitely. I said quietly, not quietly. His artwork has just got a lot of movement in it. Like, none of the pages seem like they're static, and I'll show you one now. But when I open this, right, you get that one page, you know, detailing of it. But then the third page in, you get that. Yeah, so if there's any proof that an absolute edition improves the artwork, this is it. What a beautiful page. And it's just absolutely ridiculously stunning. But yeah, there's a bit, I think, where he's Clark and he's walking into the office and he's dropping a cup of coffee and things like that. And the movement it gets is just, it's just stunning. Yeah, that. I love that.
Yeah.
Where he's kind of just, you know, in multiple places at the same time. But yeah, the artwork, it does wonders for the artwork. And it's just a beautiful book.
It's a stunning story overall, isn't it? That's the one that if anybody ever says, "Oh, I don't like Superman," I always say, "Go read that," because I challenge anyone to say that he's boring, you know, after reading that story. You know,
because Morrison is a really hard writer to water down, because his ideas are so high concept that sometimes they're impenetrable.
Yeah,
that for my money is Morrison, where it's the perfect level of Morrison-ness.
You're right.
All those high concepts, but it never seems to run away with itself. It's got all those futuristic elements and alternative versions of Superman, and you know, Lois getting superpowers and all.
But then you've got, and I know people who watch my channel will get sick of us whittering on about it, because I use it as an example all the time I can. But you get those kind of high concepts in that book of the Bizarros and the ray guns and all that kind of stuff, and then you get just a page of that stunning page of him standing with the lady who's contemplating committing suicide, and there's very few words in the page. The art is just so crisp, and it's just one of the most moving pages in any comic book I've ever read. You know, I think it's a phenomenal series.
I think that's why All-Star Superman is always been that kind of quintessential Superman tale, because it hits on everything that the Superman is. You know, he is high concept sci-fi, but equally he's that personal savior that everyone needs as well. And it really does. It fires all cylinders, and the Absolute Edition is just lush.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to stick with a classic that's been tarted up a little bit with some beautiful Alex Ross art. Any idea what?
Oh, no.
Christ, it's heavy.
Oh, it's heavy. That's a clue.
It's heavy.
No, I can't think it's been tarted up with Alex Ross art. Oh, crisis on for this. I was thinking then, what has been tarted up? George Perez has been tarted up. Basil's been tarted up.
Look at that. Look at that. It is just amazing. And it kills me that I've always been trying to get one of the lithographs of this piece of artwork, and it's obscenely pricey. But I love it. I absolutely love it. Look at all the characters in the bottom there.
No.
And what I absolutely love about this volume as well is that in the I can't remember if it's in the kind of the supplementary volume or not, but you get basically an image of this in black and white where it's numbered, so you can go and check out every single character. Yeah. So this is,
well, before you get carried away with that, which you should, is that one of the few absolutes that I've been on the fence of for ages because of cost and because of availability and all that, and I've always kind of gone mainly for the internal art and the internal story, because it was, even though it's not that great, you know, when you boil it down to it, but its historical significance is great. You know, it's
no, absolutely, it's the historical impact, and this, you know, this got the full story, and you also get the compendium, which kind of talks you through the creation of it and stuff. The compendium itself, I love, because it's got some of those kind of interesting story bits. So it's got here on the back the breakdown of the initial meeting. Can we kill Supergirl in crisis? I must know. You know, and this is the actual kind of the memos that were being sent around. So in the compendium, you get all the history in the background and all that kind of stuff. You get some of the artwork, and then you get some of those kind of script pages that we've talked about. But again, it's just a lovely book to have. It's just a really nice addition, I think, to sit and flick through. So that's the kind of the additional material you get, and then you get obviously the stunning George Perez artwork on the front there, and with some of the original characters and the original designs. All of the actual jacket itself is just kind of this lovely sunken in crisis logo there.
Is it debossed or embossed? I never know the difference.
It's
debossed, embossed.
It's definitely bossed. Yeah,
it's bossed.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And again, it's got this just beautiful paper quality to it. The artwork, I mean, George Perez artwork is always stunning anyway, but it just flies off the page.
That page then is ridiculous.
And obviously you've got all the covers in it as well. You've got the death of Flash and Supergirl. They got better, don't worry. But you've got all of that kind of stuff. Some of the original character designs again at the back there. It's just one of my favorites. Like you said, the story not necessarily the best. Oh, look at man, Flash dying.
Do you know that this is one of the main things I always struggle with comics like this, is they almost are not, they designed with moments rather than the story overall. It's like they create these visual and story beats, but they're moments. And so you build and build and build, and you have those moments like the death of Supergirl, like all these other characters that are just so well done. And to a certain degree, that book kind of aces those moments. I think it's really good.
I mean, if you look at the death of Supergirl there, it's horrific. You know, it's pretty.
That little panel with the eye. Oh no, something there. That's brilliant.
So one of my all-time favorites. Like you say, not the best story, to be honest, but in terms of historical, if you're a comic nerd, historical importance, it's stunning. So you've got an amazing book, a beautifully designed book, some stunning writing and artwork, and then they just kind of top it with that, you know, that Alex Ross wrap around.
I bet George Perez was fuming with that, though. Well, my artwork isn't good enough for my own book.
And then he probably looked at it and said, "Yeah, it's Alex Ross, isn't it?" You know what I mean? Fair enough.
When he was alive, he was just looking at the sales. He was just it's great.
but again, you know, this prattling on, but this thing, in terms of the quality of these books, which is what we're talking about, you've got your wraparound box, goes onto the spine, but then it even goes on, you know, the bottom, you've got your characters, and the top, you've got all your characters as well. It's just, I just love them. I think they're amazing.
That's actually one of the main reasons I didn't pick Kingdom Come, was the spine design on Kingdom Come annoys the shit out of me. Because it puts the name on the top. Why do that? Why?
Weird, isn't it? Yeah.
Like, It's not on the side. It's on the top.
Yeah.
It's so weird. No one puts their books on the shelf. What the hell?
Yeah.
But no, if you haven't, you should. I'm sitting against it now, so I can't get it. My giant Snorlax beanbag is stopping me getting it. But Wonder Woman: Gods and Mortals by George Perez, the absolute edition of that.
Oh, I haven't got the absolute. No, they didn't absolute.
Oh, that's a boot. I'll
have to get that one.
Do you want to see that one? I'll show you. Excuse the unelegant beanbag. This was actually one of the ones that I was going to pick because
I didn't realise that was out.
Look at that.
Oh, it's shiny.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. It's so over the top. It's brilliant.
It really could do with a little bit more gold. Do you not think?
I know. But it's so over the top. It's brilliant. I think that's, and again, this George Perez art,
stunning.
But stunning. I mean, look at the end page, man. Come on, for God's sake. Look at that.
Phenomenal.
When you made a good purchase is when you look at the end page and you find you can move on.
Yeah. That's another one I'm going to have to pick up. I like the look of that one a lot.
I'm thinking of the Infinite Crisis one now, to be honest. Crisis on Infinite. So. But my last one actually is Killing Joke. Absolute Batman Killing Joke. And I mainly really, really love this one because it's the most affordable absolute.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And I know it's a tiny comic, you know, the story isn't that big. But this is what Batman Year One should have been as well in terms of presentation. And Batman Year One, the only reason I haven't picked that is because it's in 2 separate books.
Yeah, yeah.
And it didn't need to be in 2 separate books, really. This kind of showed that it doesn't. Brian Boland's art absolutely deserves oversized, you know, a treatment without a shadow of a doubt. So you get a wonderful slipcase. I can't actually get this out when my youngest daughter Betsy is here because that terror. She screams and cries so much. I swear to God, I'm not kidding. Yeah. She hates it. But
bless her.
The the slipcase is great, and he actually did brand new art for the cover itself as well.
I mean, that in itself is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, he revisited it from multiple different angles. But why it's so good is it gives you the story and the recolored version of the story, which is fantastic, obviously, and absolutely deserves oversized art. This, more so than... It's very similar to Watchmen in terms of when it's oversized, you see the level of thought that's gone into the layout of the pages. For example, like you could quite easily miss... like this, where he's mirroring the activity of the Joker from one panel to the next, and so the Joker, you know, the human version of the Joker, if you want to put it like that, is there looking in a mirror, talking to his wife, and then it blends into this full-colored version over here, and his reflection is, and so there's loads of that layered storytelling going on, which is amazing. I can't show that. Spoilers. I mean, nah. I don't want to show the shooting. I don't want to spoil a 30-year-old comic.
Yeah.
This is the 30th anniversary, so it's even older now. But then what's really good about this is because it's such a short comic, you get the modern, you know, colorized version. Yeah. Then it dips into the older version, but it goes to the level of giving you the old stock matte kind of paper. So it changes the paper quality and gives you the original colouring. I
mean, that in itself, I remember, because I've got this one, I remember flicking through it and then suddenly realising, you get the feel in your fingertips and you think, oh, hang on a minute, what's going on here? I think the level they've gone to in terms of the quality is incredible.
And I mean, look at the page that I just showed you just now. Look how different they are there in that colouring. And again, the colouring does massively change. I nearly spoiled the fucking thing on the same page again. But yeah, it really does change it, this kind of neoness. And it allows you to read the story. And I'm under no pretenses that everyone's going to sit down and read the same story back to back in the same sitting. But it gives you a different reading experience. Yeah. And again, Brian Boland's art deserves to be oversized. It does have a lot of script material in the back, which I never really touched, to be honest. The main thing is this story told and oversized in 2 different versions. Batman Year One does the same thing, but in 2 separate books. and that brought the cost up massively. Whereas
Yeah.
this, it's in a slim volume. You could probably pick this up for about 25, 30 quid even now, really.
Yeah, I think I got mine for about 30 quid or something like that. It's a really good value.
For mine, I think I paid £18 for mine, which is ridiculous. And so, yeah, I really wanted to feature this because I think it's a great entry absolute as well for people.
Sorry, I sneezed there as you were looking away.
Yeah, it's a great like entry absolute for people who haven't tried absolutes. Yeah, and
I like that. I like that. An entry absolute. Yeah. It
is, though, isn't it? You know, if you do, because it's no more expensive than a lot of gallery editions or deluxe editions at the moment, really.
But you get that large format sexiness. So yeah, absolutely.
And if you like it, you can explore other ones then. But it's a brilliant book anyway.
Superb. Great story as well. Again, that's one of those classics that I think everyone's going to have. Okay, I don't think you're going to guess me next one because I don't think it's actually officially called an absolute.
Oh, Green Lantern, Green Arrow then, is it? Green Arrow, Green Lantern. Green Lantern, Green Arrow.
No.
Damn it!
No.
You can't have a non-absolute absolute in the top 5.
Look at that.
Right.
Look at that. Have you seen this one before?
I haven't seen that one before.
So this is George Perez Sexiness again. This is
a rarity, that one.
Yeah, this is Avengers versus JLA. An amazing story. I just love, I'm a bit of a sucker, you'll have noticed, for these kind of huge collage kind of covers that give you such an amazing mix of characters. Obviously, we've got it on the spine as well. Again, that's another one that's got on the top for some reason. That's weird, isn't it? And the bottom, just in case, you know. You get the original story. I don't know if you know the history to this story, Chris, but they talked about this for years and years and years. And George Perez did a few kind of mock-ups of it and things, and it never got anywhere. So you get that in this kind of compendium bit, this additional bit. Again, there's another one of those bits of weird paper.
Did they bring a trade paperback out today, or was that something else?
Yeah, when he passed away. This is basically a detailed story of what happened and you know, all the original layouts and everything from the book. It goes through it in great detail, and then it tells you about how they had to change it because by the time the book was actually being made, a lot of the characters that referenced and talked about it had either moved on or changed or whatever. So this is one of those compendiums that I think is really worth it if you like the history of the story and the background of the story.
That's when it really needed to be an Elseworld story, didn't it? Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than a continuity story.
Yeah. So that's the kind of the compendium bit that you get with it. Now, I showed you the front cover there, which is obviously the wraparound with all the huge characters. This, for me, is one of the greatest images of all time. That's what they used on the recently released trade paperback, I think.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I just think it's stunning. On the other side, you get the kind of the headshots, as it were.
Yeah, the other side. A bearded Thor is always good.
Yeah, I like a bearded Thor. Although he gets beaten in this book, which is an absolute disgrace. But there we are. This is, again, George Perez artwork is just amazing. Hate this. This is Thor and Superman having a fight and Superman beating Thor. But it's just an amazing story, you know, and you get these classic scenes of Avengers interacting with, you know, the Justice League and Cap, shield being held by Superman there. And then I love it. I absolutely love this story. I love the book. I love the artwork. There's another one of those pages where they've numbered it, so you get to see every character in there. Yeah, love it, absolutely love it. So that's Justice League versus the Avengers. One of my favorites.
Not an entry absolute, Darren. That's like a Yoda level absolute, Darren.
Yoda level. I like that. I like that. Chris, this has been really, really interesting. And I think we've both got enough absolutes to probably do another follow-on video on this at some point in the future if you're game for it, mate. And I'd also love to have you on my This Is My show. So getting to learn a little bit about you and see some more of your collectibles.
I'm fine with that. You ask and I will provide.
Good stuff. Okay, ladies and gents, thank you very much for watching. And please do head over to Chris's channel, Off My Shelves, give him a sub and watch some of his stunning content.
Wait for it, guys. He's about to say it.
Do you tell you what you say?
Oh, no, that's
you say it. Go on, you say it. Tell you what. You say it in Welsh. Do you know what it is in Welsh?
There isn't a Welsh translation for whack, I don't think. Particularly.
I don't believe that for a second. Okay, everybody. That is your whack. We'll catch you next time. Bye.